But teacher pipeline's a big deal. Jody Barrow told me this morning, Stan Jarnett's confirmed what Jody had said, that we were short 5,300 teachers in the school system last year. The good thing about that, it was 6,000 the year before. And so we are apparently making some headway. So that's the purpose of this meeting. This is the third one, and the last one we will have. But the main thing was to just draw more and more attention to why are people not getting in teaching, and then why are people getting out of teaching or retiring early or being in it 4, 5, 6 years and getting out. So, but thank you, and I'm going to ask Senator Payne if he would to pray for us. 8.
Number 8, yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening, Lord, and we just thank you for all your many blessings to each and every one of us in this room. Lord, it's your Son that lived to liberate us. Lead us as we liberate the next generation. Lead us as educators. Lead us in our guiding and teaching our young generations, Lord, for future, so they will be prepared for the future, Lord. And we just ask that you lead us and guide us in all things, that we do all this for them. For us in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir. As most of y'all know, we also had a Senate bill, I think number 4, that we were scheduled here today, and Senator Dozal was called out of town, so probably will not hear it. We've already got our tentatively scheduled for Thursday, and then for the following Tuesday, and maybe even for the following Thursday. And so we may not hear that for a couple of weeks. So, but thank y'all for the Senate members being here. Thank y'all for being so patient and waiting around, and because it's obvious that y'all have the same passion that the rest of us have with this. So thank you. Well, we're going to start off, first of all, with our good friend L.C. Buster Evans. Isn't that what you go by? Yeah. So thank you, Buster, for being here. What a great tool we've got, and how fortunate we are to have the teacher retirement system. You know, and I do a lot of speaking, and I know y'all do too, but when you speak to educators, that is always the first question. Not the second or third, but always the first question: do you support teacher retirement system? And of course we all say yes, and they're all very appreciative of what your organization does for us. So tell us how all this plays into teacher retirement and retention of teachers and recruitment of teachers and so forth. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. It's a pleasure for me to anytime talk about the teachers retirement system and its role in the teacher pipeline and helping to be an integral part of educational policy in this state. So it's an honor to be with you this afternoon. Thrilled to be able to be here on the same agenda with two of my longtime best friends, Jody Barrow and Richard Smith. And I will say, I don't know whether or not y'all have lined us up by area of intellect or looks, but perhaps we started with the best.
It may be by amount of hair.
Well, we are all working diligently to win that. But again, I'm going to go over some of these slides very quickly because I do want to get to the meat of what we're talking about. But the teachers' retirement system has been in place in Georgia since 1945, legislated in 1943, in place since 1945. And we serve the K-12 as well as colleges, technical schools, and so forth. We're a big system. We have over 500,000 active and retired members in our state. So there's a good chance wherever you go, you can go to church on Sunday morning, or you can go to speak to a group of retirees. Good chance you're going to meet one of our members. And I will tell you this, my experience continues to be they believe in the retirement system, and they will tell you in many ways it's the reason they got into the profession and the reason that they stayed into the profession. And we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Again, I'm going to skip over a couple of things that I think are important but may not be fully germane to your conversation this afternoon. We are a plan that you see on the third page here that talks about how our funding ratio is 78.2%, how the contributions come from both the employee and the employer. But let's talk about why. What is the role of the teachers' retirement system in this whole concept of educational policy? And it really boils down to three things. First of all, recruitment. It's so important to be able to answer the question why, but many people do get into the profession. I was in the business field up until 1987. when I went from the business field into education, one of the attractions for me was the fact that I knew that I could have a decent living, but also have a good retirement system. I'm not the only person in this room, I believe, that would tell you that. The second reason that we exist is for retention. So many of our educators will tell you they will have bumps in the road along the way, but they reach that 10-year period of time and they are vested, and they begin to see that if they continue to work over that period of time, it comes into play so that they will be able to have a retirement benefit. I will tell you, we'll talk about how it plays into teacher quality in just a moment as well. And then the third reason, when Governor Ellis Arnold introduced and proposed the teacher's retirement system in 1943, one of the things that he proposed and said, he says, I want our retired educators to be able to live out their retirement years with dignity. And folks, I think that's important. Many of us have had aging parents who've gone into assisted living and other types of things, and our retirement benefit does not cover all of that, but it certainly helps. So those are some of the reasons why we exist. I appreciate the chairman already mentioning the teacher shortage that we have. But we also have to ask the question, if we exist for recruitment and retention, does it work? Well, I did a little bit of research to talk about what the turnover rates are. In Georgia, the current turnover rate is somewhere 9 to 10% for teachers. If you look at what it is for state workers, it was over 20%. This last year, it dropped to about 18, 19%, so somewhere around 20%. If you look at the private sector, it really kind of depends on what the sector is, but generally the private sector, you can ask ChatGPT and it'll tell you it's about 20% in the private sector. I did that just to make sure I wasn't lying to you this afternoon. But also why the defined benefit plan. We talked about teacher quality, is that all of the teacher in school improvement research that I've ever seen throughout my career as an educator pointed to the fact that teachers typically peak in effectiveness at somewhere around 22 or 23 years of service. So if we can keep teachers to that particular point, and you have an initiative such as literacy, it helps us give the best instruction to our kids by the best teachers because we've kept them in the profession for a longer period of time. Next page is just some retirement trends. There have not been any major peaks. You will hear all kinds of information about having more and more people retire. Actually, we saw up until last year 2 consecutive years of reductions in the number of retirees, perhaps brought about, I would contend, first of all, you as a legislature and the executive branch gave some teacher salary increases, help teachers realize I hang around another couple of years in the retirement system, it's going to boost my retirement. Folks, it works. The second thing is we know that inflation kept people in the classroom teaching a little bit longer than they might have otherwise done, so this reflects that. Typically, whenever we see an increase in 1 year, we'll almost always, and you can look at my graph here and tell, but we'll almost always see a decrease over the next couple of years, called reversion to the mean. We do not have a growing number of retirees in the state. I won't talk a lot about asset allocation because it's not germane to your committee, but if you are interested, you will see that primarily we are in equities. We are also in about 25 to 30% fixed income or stocks, and then about 2% in alternative investments. How have we been doing? Again, because it is important that sustainability be important for our plan, because we intend on being around. For that teacher who's the first-year teacher this year, we intend on being here 50 years down the road when she's retired and she's drawing that retirement benefit. That is our mission and that is our intent, and you have been important in doing that. We have been really successful over the last couple of years, specifically last year. The Teachers Retirement System of Georgia had the highest return on our investments of any large pension system in the nation as tracked by the Pension and Investments publication. Mm. Next page, historical returns. We'll save that one for another day, but let me talk about House Bill 385 just a minute. This is a bill, legislation that I know that you're interested in and you're going to see coming your way. let me tell you a little bit about our experience administering this from the retirement system. The original House Bill 385, which allowed retired educators to go back to work into the classroom full-time, was introduced and passed by you. It was a bill that had several guardrails in place. I'll address some of those types of things, but it said that basically they could come back to work, draw their pension, and work up to full time. It specifically said that you could have 3 critical needs areas to be identified by each RESA district. From an administration standpoint from TRS, that has worked out okay for us. However, I will tell you, based on my experience in conversations with our 16 different RESA districts, not all of our RESA districts have the same needs. Some of them see shifting needs over time as well. There are some people who think that this needs to be more flexibility here. That's up for you to decide as a General Assembly. But I will tell you this, the top 3 areas across the state have been special education, math, and science. If I'm a school superintendent or school principal, well, I'm quite thrilled when I am able to call upon a retired educator in the month of September when my calculus teacher has decided that they can't work for the rest of the year. And as a parent, I'm thrilled that my child, who I want to be able to go to Georgia Tech, is going to be able to have a good calculus teacher. So a retired educator's come back and said, I'll fill this spot for you. I'm even more thrilled when I see a special education classroom that's empty, have a retired special education teacher who is certified and experienced say, you know what, I got a little tread left on these tires, and I'll come back because I believe in helping kids. And I believe this reflects the heart of the teachers that I've worked with throughout my career. Now, one of the things that this bill had, it did require a 12-month break-in service. I know that some people think that's too long. Again, that's something for you as a General Assembly to decide. There is the argument, and just so that you are aware, that the shorter the break-in service, the more possible that people could be incentivized for an early retirement. And I think you probably understand what that means, but if you have questions about it, I'll be able to go there. Again, we do. Why do we have a break-in service? As a 401A approved, our IRS approved plan, IRS requires a break of service. You, however, as the legislature, define what that break-in service needs to look like. One of the guardrails of the current law required for a 30 full years of TRS service upon retirement. What we found in this, and we already knew this quite frankly, but our average retiree has 25 and a half years of service. Consequently, the previous legislation meant that the average TRS retiree would not be eligible to come back. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what the bill did. And then the employer pays the employer and employer contribution, and the returning beneficiary does not receive any further service credit. And again, this bill is going to sunset on June 30th, 2026. That is why if we're going to have this provision in state law, it is imperative that it be introduced in this legislative session, go for an actuarial review, and then come back next session for approval. Last slide I think that I'll go over before I see if you have questions just kind of gives you a reflection of the number of reports to you, the number of people who have taken advantage of this. This current year we're up to 432, but I want to put this in the context of the greater picture. If you remember some of the numbers that I shared with you earlier, we have about 150,000 retirees. Every year, about 10% of our beneficiaries will come back to work. Many of them will come back as substitutes. They may come back and work 49% as a teaching or maybe 49% as administrator. We've been seeing those numbers increase over the last several years, probably as a reflection of perhaps you can define what you think it would be, maybe inflation, maybe other types of things, but they've also been coming back because they've had this provision in state law that allowed them to come back to work. Mr. Chairman, that's a quick overview of the teachers' retirement system and how we administer House Bill 385 as well as the return to work provisions allowing our retirees to come back to work. I'll be delighted to try to answer any questions that any of you or the committee members may have.
Well, let me ask you a question while they're thinking about it. One of the things that we do at our office is when we sit down and do reviews at the end of the year, we'll give a complete, this is what your package is. You know, salary, vacation, sick time, blah, 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 all the way down. Retirement plan, health insurance, so forth, so on, so on. With the teacher retirement system being, employer putting in 20.78%, that's a pretty big number. Does school system do anything like that? Bubba, have y'all give it like, this is our total? I think that would be for people to really know what their total package is instead of what they take home. You know, 'cause we all have a mindset of what goes in a billfold, not what the total package is. So, you have any answer on that?
Well, it's pretty understood that teachers will accept a lower pay, and most government workers will, in exchange for this as a benefit that is part of the package. Certainly should be considered as you look at compensation, that this certainly has value, and that value is a numeric number that is going to follow you into retirement for the rest of your life.
Well, if you got a teacher who makes $50,000, that's a $10,000 contribution that the state's put in a retirement plan for them, plus the 6% that they're putting in. I mean, those are pretty huge numbers.
Yeah, $13,000 right there in public math.
Yeah, exactly. So you see what I'm saying? I think it makes a difference. Maybe it's just an ego thing on my part for people to know what their total package is, but they always act like they're surprised about it. So, anyone else have a question of Mr. Evans?
Yeah.
Oh, what number are you? 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, Mr. Evans. HB 385, what year did we pass that?
Ma'am?
What year?
The HB 385, what year did we pass that bill?
Oh, goodness. It would have been in 2022, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was figuring normally we would put like a 5-year sunset in, so I just wanted to know so I could go back
Right.
and read it.
Yep.
And I believe I heard you say, and I just probably missed a little bit of what you're saying, which is why I want clarification, that the shorter the break in service, the higher the chance to incentivize early retirement.
Yes.
Can you explain that to me a little more? I guess I would have thought, I'm not understanding something, because I would have thought like the longer you're out, you might be like, oh, so what's the incentivize? early
Okay,
retirement?
what would, well, there kind of is a way around that, so I'll address that. So first of all, if I'm a teacher, and I know that I've got to retire and I've got to have a break-in service for 12 months, and I do not know that Superintendent Payne is going to hire me next year, I may not be willing to give up my job, wait out for a year, because I'm giving up tenure when I retire. And when I go and let's say I'm working 49%, which you could do under our current law, but if you're working 49%, you do not have tenure. So consequently, when you make that decision, you're giving up the assurance of continued employment as well as the tenure or the Fair Dismissal Act protection, technically, that you have as an educator.
Thank you.
Sure.
Senator, typically what I see in our business when we sit down and talk to people about retirement, and I don't, this is kind of a joking type deal, but they got all these plans that they're going to do. And a lot of times in about 45 days, they've done it all, and now they figured out what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. And so that's why the shorter period of time. And then the second thing would be that, and Buster and I talked about this earlier, you take a person that graduates and they're 22 years old, in 25 years, they're only 47.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do with the rest of their lives now? And so this would be shortening that retire and changing the bill, which I'm going to share with y'all probably tomorrow, is that would bring those people back to the school system. And I think we need to look at bringing them back for other areas too, like a social studies teacher or an art teacher or a music teacher, but not a football coach. And I know we got some former coaches in here, Senator Halpern.
So one of the things that you said that surprised me is that teachers peak in their effectiveness 22 to 23 years in the profession, and your average retiree has served 25 years.
25 and a half years, that is correct.
Yeah, the 22 to 23 years kind of surprised me. I would have thought it would have been slightly less than that in terms of, peaking in effectiveness. And so it's kind of like, then if you look at your numbers, they peak in effectiveness and then immediately retire on average.
Sure, but many of our retirees do continue to work to 30 and or 40 years. Matter of fact, at least one of our speakers following me is one of those types of people who worked many, many years in the profession.
Thank you.
Thank you. Buster, thank you so much. Appreciate your time and first of all, let me tell y'all, thank y'all for waiting around for us. This is such an important deal, but obviously it's important to y'all, so thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay. Our next speaker is Richard Smith from Statesboro, Georgia, and Metter, Georgia. Talking about the Georgia Tap from First District RESA. Richard, would you introduce yourself and tell us exactly what you do?
I will. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Senators, for having us up today. And it's certainly a pleasure to present with two men I consider mentors of mine. Worked with both of them, and they both have a strong passion for the subject that we're talking about, and that's putting teachers in front of kids, qualified teachers in front of kids every day. So I'm Richard Smith. I'm the Executive Director of First District RESA, here representing the RESA network. Our RESA is mainly southeast and coastal Georgia, the 20 school systems down in our area there. And like everywhere in the state, we're struggling to putting good quality teachers in front of kids. Every year we got somebody looking for some. We've got a system as big as Chatham, Savannah Chatham, who may be looking for hundreds of teachers, and then you've got Evans County or McIntosh County who have 1,000 kids total, and they, one teacher makes a huge difference there if they're looking for that. Their needs are unique, but one of the ways that the RESA network is able to help support getting teachers in the classroom, help supply this pipeline, is what we call the Georgia Teacher Academy for Preparation and Pedagogy, or as we refer to it as Georgia TAP. That's is a program where a person who did not go to school to be a teacher, but they worked in, whether it was business or some other kind of industry, but they have a 4-year degree, and we call them career switchers. They decide that maybe I want to teach, or maybe I heard about TRS, and I'm thinking, that would be real nice in my later years. So this is a non-traditional education preparatory program. It differs from as a young college student, you go through your 4 years, get your bachelor's in whether it's early childhood or secondary science or be a math teacher. They would go through college to do that and go right into the teaching profession. These individuals have gotten their bachelor's degree. Many of them have already gotten their master's. They may have been an engineer at one of our nuclear plants, or they may have worked in business and ran their own business, or may have been an accountant, and they decide they want to come teach. This allows them a pathway to reach that goal of becoming a classroom teacher. It allows us to bring some of the most talented and experienced people out of the business world, out of the real world experience that they've had, and put them in front of kids to teach them. These candidates bring a deep level of expertise, and they often bring, like I said, so many real world experiences that help our kids understand what it takes once I do get through school, and often can be good career counselors in the classroom. This is a way for those established professionals who want to do something different, either later in their career. We have some that only spend a few years in business or a few years in industry, and they decide. We have some that are completely retired somewhere else and then want to come and do this, but it allows them to bring that into the classroom and put good quality teachers in front of them. These teacher candidates, when they enroll in this program, they are allowed to begin in the classroom and earn their teaching certificate. And remember, they already have the education qualifications to teach the subject matter that they're in, but allows them to earn their certification while supporting kids in the classroom. In addition to that certification that they're earning through the classwork that they do, oftentimes in the evenings. A lot of Saturday work goes into this, but they are supported by RESA coaches and former administrators, former classroom teachers who go, and each one is assigned a mentor from the RESA and from the school system, in addition to the support they get from their local administration. Currently 15% of all current teachers in Georgia receive their initial certification through the Georgia TAP program. This program started in the early 2000s. Since 2008, when it really became a kind of a hot topic or a big ticket item, we've had over 7,500 individuals complete this program statewide, and of those, 75% have remained employed as educators today. Just in the last 5 years, we have put 1,053 special education teachers into classrooms through this program. And as you heard Dr. Evans mention, that is one of the high needs areas all across the state. Georgia's TAP teachers tend to bring a more diversified teaching workforce in than the traditional route. Georgia's TAP teachers, what we see in statewide is that 49% of our candidates are white, 43% are black, and 5% are Hispanic, whereas traditional 73% tend to be white, 19% black, and 4% Hispanic. We also attract almost twice as many males into the alternative prep program as we do in the traditional program. Across the state, there are 23 certified programs. We are certified through the PSC that Dr. Barrow will be talking with you about. We follow the same standards from PSC that our university system colleges of education follow. We go through accreditation every year. Matter of fact, next week we've got our on-site visit, which is maybe a misnomer. It's all virtual now, but it's our site visit for our accreditation to be reapproved and through the Georgia PSC. There are 14 RESAs. There's 16 in the state. 14 have Georgia's TAP program. The two that do not have the TAP program partner with their neighboring RESA and serve their kids through that, or I call them kids. Everybody's a kid when you get to be my age. We also have 7 individual school systems who have their own TAP program. Savannah Chatham in my district is one of those. Sometimes your larger districts, it's just easier for them to handle that in-house. One technical college, I believe it's Wiregrass, has a Georgia TAP program, and then the Charter Schools Association has a Georgia TAP program also. To get into Georgia TAP, there's a few things that you have to do. One is to be hired by a local school district. You have to be offered a job. You have to have a 4-year degree. In the only exception to not having a 4-year degree, there are certain career and technical education jobs where you only have to have an associate's degree to get a certificate. In those cases, the same rules apply. You have to have an associate degree for that. They must obtain, before they can even enter into this program, they must obtain a passing score on the Georgia Ethics Assessment, which is administered through PSC again. The law states that they must have a minimum GPA. It does not state what that GPA is. Each program establishes their own guidelines for that. But I'll tell you, in my 8 years at RESA working with this program, we have very few that aren't just highly qualified, particularly from an academic standpoint. When they enter into this program, they choose the area that they're going to be teaching in and what certificate they're going to get. They earn or are awarded what is called a provisionary certificate through PSC. So they fall under all these same guidelines, codes of ethics that any other Georgia certified teacher would fall into, any educator. But they either have to have a concentration or major in that area. If I'm going to be a secondary math teacher, my background needs to be in math. I may have been an accountant. I may have been an engineer. I've got the classwork, the content knowledge for that. And then in areas like special education and early childhood education, you must pass the Georgia Assessment for Certification of Educators, or the GACE, which is a test that they must pass before they can get into the program for that. For the content areas, if you want to teach at the middle grades level, you must have a major or a concentration of at least 15 semester hours in the subject you're going to teach. If you want to teach 8th grade history and want to get a middle grade certification, you must have that coming into the program from your previous college work. For secondary fields such as math, language arts, history, science, it's 21 semester hours. And then, as I said earlier, the birth to grade 5 and all special educations require the GACE test provision. Eligibility through field certification through PSC, as I said, is a provisional certificate. They work during that time to earn what is called a professional professional certificate. So they're able to work, they're able to teach, they're able to be in front of the classroom working with those kids. Now, one of the advantages, or some of the advantages that we have, it can be market sensitive. Particularly, like I said, I mentioned some systems in my area. You have large systems, we have small systems. It may be that you need a Spanish teacher in a small town and there's just not one, and they don't fit the mold, or we can't find a retired teacher that would come back in that, or it's not one of my subject areas for my RESA that it would be. But, finding a good high school Spanish teacher or a band director or some of those one-off content areas that we have, this is a way that we can bring in a teacher into that classroom who has great content knowledge, and then we work with them on the pedagogy part of it so that they're able to work with those kids. Another advantage is that we have very strong relationships with all our districts that we serve in our RESAs, and then obviously the individual systems that have that, they know their needs. So we're able to fine-tune what they have. If they can find a candidate, we can get them certified, and we can work with them to make sure that they are not just content experts in front of the classroom, but they are good teachers, and that they have all the extra things that need to go there. Generally, going through a TAP program costs considerably less than a traditional program. Obviously, you're not getting a complete new degree through through Georgia TAP, but you are doing that. But one of the other alternative prep programs we have through the university system is that they can go and get a master's degree. This program through Georgia TAP can be a little less in cost for that individual. I will say this, and particularly in my districts, many systems pay for those teachers to go back and get that. That's another incentive that they have, trying to get good teachers in the classroom. As we mentioned earlier, the real world experience that they bring to the classroom is just, can't be spoken about enough. Every candidate that we put into a school through the Georgia TAP program, we have a mentor from RESA that walks alongside them through this process. They're in their classrooms on a weekly basis, a daily basis if they need. If they're struggling with classroom management, they're there to model, to not on an evaluative purpose like the administrator from the building will be, but somebody that they can really lean on that can help show them the ways that needs to be done. Also, each school is required to provide a mentor to this new TAP teacher so that, while that person is a classroom teacher, also sometimes learning the ways of the school and the lay of the land can be very helpful. So we ask that they do that. Couple of things that I'm talking, some data I want to share with you from my district. In FY24, we put 61 candidates through our RESA program. This year we have 91. So you can see that continues to be and then we started a new cohort in January. So we had 91 at the first of the year. We added 28 more in January that we're working through that. We've had candidates that have been recognized in their school as having the highest growth for students on their milestone test in the spring. We had a teacher in our area that had the highest social studies growth at their middle school. We had one that had their highest ELA scores at their middle school. We had two candidates this past year that served on a GACE test review question writing committee and brought their content knowledge into that. We've also had one in just this past December who was promoted to the lead teacher for her grade level, and been asked to speak at a national conference coming up this spring. We've had 2 candidates this year being promoted or named to be department chairs for their divisions. That speaks to the experiences, whether it's leadership experience, content experience, that these people bring into the classroom. Sometimes young teachers just coming out of college, and I'm a prime example. I had to grow up a little bit when I started. These people come in, they're usually more mature, they usually have families, they usually understand life a little better, so they tend to move up in those areas. Candidates who complete the program in June is ready to serve as a TAP mentor for that next group coming in and can help them walk through that. I failed to mention this earlier. One of the things that we do before they start class in August, we put them through a very rigorous summer program. They're in class hours and hours through the summer. They've made a commitment to do this. They're not getting paid for these days a lot of times by their systems. A few do, but not all of them. But they're coming to class every day. They're working on pedagogy. They're learning good classroom management skills and things that'll help them be ready to meet those kids on the first day. That's the one thing that we tell our team is it's most important that they're ready when those kids show up on day one. One of the things that we're most excited about, and this is the first year we have worked with state government, the military. We are now able to have candidates who have GI Bills. They're able to use this funding to pay for their certification process through the GTAP program. Mr. Chairman, I'll be open to any questions, or if there's anything I can go back over for you.
Tell us, do people contact y'all, or do y'all advertise for this? How do people know to contact First District Research for a position in Meta or Statesboro class?
Well, many of our systems have job fairs. Georgia Southern has a job fair. Coastal College of Georgia does. We show up at those events and we talk about the TAP program. I may graduate from Georgia Southern this spring and with a degree in whatever, and I may not have ever thought about being a teacher. But if we're there and we tell them, okay, what are you going to do if you got a job lined up? How about, have you ever thought about being a teacher? We can get them into that program that way. The relationship that we have with all our school districts, our HR directors meet monthly with our GTAP staff and talk about what they've got coming up, the vacancies they've got. If we have people that reach out directly to us, they hear about the TAP program from some. We try to have a presence in social media and those kind of things for recruitment, but they hear about it, and so they'll come to us. We know that if Bryan County needs a special ed teacher, we've got a candidate that may have said, hey, you know anybody looking for a special ed teacher? I think I want to go back and be a teacher. So having that close relationship with our districts helps us fill those gaps, as we say, so to speak.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Senator Kemp, what number are you? 10.
Thank you so much for this presentation. Can you repeat the numbers of the percentages? And then we have 49% white, 43% black in TAP compared to the districks, or compared to traditional
for the Georgia
route?
I'm sorry, for the TAP program, they're 49% whites, 43% black, 5% Hispanic. Whereas traditional programs, state averages are 73% white, 19% black, and 4% Hispanic.
And you said twice as many males. Right?
Correct. In the TAP program, 33% of our candidates are male. Traditional program tends to be around 18.
Wow. Do y'all do any exit or entrance interviews to ask folks like why they decided to take this route versus the traditional route? Just curious, because those are like really striking and encouraging numbers.
Yes, sir, we do. We talked to them about coming in. A lot of it, not so much in, but as they exit our program, it takes about for most cases, it takes about a year. For early childhood, it's about 3 semesters for them to get through this program, because of the extra work that they have to do to earn their certification. But we talked to them a lot about that. Why did you choose this route? And so many of them, the most overwhelming answer is, I was young, I went to college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and as I got a little older, I figured out I can be, for mothers and for fathers, I can be with my kids, I can be off when they're off, I can, I could get a hold of this thing called TRS, and I can retire, and they'll send me a check. So, I'm gonna put a plug in for Dr. Evans. That is the #1 recruiting tool that we have in Georgia for recruiting teachers.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Very good. Thank you, Richard. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Shawana Coleman, and talk to us about tutors to our teachers. Tutors to teachers. Word it is about it. Thank you. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I am Shawana Coleman, and I'm here with Georgia Reading Corps and Math Corps yet again. I think I've been in front of you guys and ladies and gentlemen a couple of times, and so I'm excited to be back here to share with you more about our Reading Corps and Math Corps programs, to talk about the impact and the expansion process that we've talked about many times in the educator pipeline that we've been able to build across the state of Georgia.
Y'all have some information in your packets on this.
So since our initial implementation in the Southwest region in 2018, these programs have expanded across the state of Georgia. Both the Reading Corps and Math Corps alike, we provide high impact tutoring that's during school hours. So our programs look a little bit different, and you'll get to see how it's aligned to the educator pipeline in just a few moments. With this high impact tutoring that we provide, it's the support that we're providing in reading and math for K-8 students. How do we do this? We place trained AmeriCorps members as tutors in K-8 classrooms, and we offer targeted interventions to bridge those learning gaps and to foster academic growth for students.
There we go. Thank you.
There we go. Awesome. Should I have done that? Here we go. See? Looks great. Thank you. Our progress has actually been remarkable, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a part of the progress, but it's been remarkable. During the current school year that we're in, we can focus on 2024 to 2025. We've conducted over 111,900 tutoring sessions, totaling 2.87 million tutoring minutes. 76% of our Reading Corps students have exceeded targeted growth, and 73% of our Math Corps students have improved their benchmark scores. This success definitely would not have been possible without advocates like Senator Sims, who helped to bring our programs here to Georgia, and the partnership that we've had the opportunity to build with Georgia Department of Education. Thanks to me being here before you all about 2 years ago in a reinstatement and redirection of our appropriated funding to Godot, we had the opportunity to be able to meet with them to talk about the impact that our programs were having and the opportunity to expand our programs at
Excuse me. Are those Georgia numbers or are they national numbers?
These are our Georgia numbers because we have so many tutors that are tutoring, and they are during in-school hours, and they're tutoring multiple students. So you're seeing what that looks like across our pipeline.
Thank you.
Yes. This year alone, we've been able to offer our programs at no cost to districts across the state of Georgia. We've placed in 2024 to 2025, 201 AmeriCorps tutors in 107 partner sites, serving 3,971 students to date. And as you're looking at the 201 AmeriCorps tutors that we placed this year alone, if I calculated over the past 2 years, we've placed over 500 tutors across the state of Georgia. The funding that we received from Godot has been pivotal for us. It relieves our districts across Georgia of the financial burden of securing additional resources while ensuring that the students receive the tailored support that they need to overcome any learning deficiencies that we've been able to identify from the reading and the math side of academics. Our programs also have alignment with the Early Literacy Act, which is House Bill 538 that was passed in 2023. As we reflect on the synergy between Reading Corps and the Early Literacy Act, I wanted to emphasize how closely aligned our programs are. For Reading Corps and Math Corps, we're providing the evidence-based instruction, and we're recognized by proven tutoring as well. It uses the appropriate and approved literacy screenings and assessments to identify students with reading deficiencies and deliver targeted skill-specific instruction to them. It offers in-school interventions, enabling the collaboration with schools, with the teachers, and the parents to provide that comprehensive support for students. And we align with the science of reading research, which focuses on the diagnostic, instructional, and approaches that ensure mastery of the essential literacy skills that the students need. One of our district partners highlighted the impact of our program by saying that the partnership with AMPAC's Reading Corps and Math Corps has been instrumental in supporting their students' academic growth. The dedicated tutors provide targeted interventions that bridge the learning gaps, boost the confidence of our students, and foster a love for learning. AMPAC's leadership team has been incredibly supportive and responsive to their unique challenges and goals, and they have seen measurable progress in our students, and the program's impact extends beyond the academic aspects, creating a stronger and more engaged school community. So I'm sure now you're wondering why all of the aforementioned matters in the conversation that we're having today. Well, while the academic impact and cost efficiency of our programs are impressive, their benefits go far beyond the student achievement pieces. Reading Corps and Math Corps have become a powerful tool for building an organic educator pipeline in Georgia. 56% of our AmeriCorps tutors have expressed interest in pursuing a career in education. We offer them a Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. So yes, they're receiving a stipend while they're working. They have the opportunity to receive medical benefits and even in some cases child care assistance, so that is not an issue with them showing up at the schools every day. But they also have the opportunity to receive up to $5,176 to support tuition or pay down their student loans as well. And because they're getting these education awards, some of them have no idea how they can use them or what does it look like to get into a career in education, even though they are interested in it. We have individuals that are tutors that may have had a gap year and they're just trying to figure it out. Some that are in the midst of trying to shift their careers, and others that are just looking to figure out exactly what it is that they want to do. And because of that, we've partnered with institutions like Mercer University and Georgia State University to offer tutors pathways into teaching, including curated cohorts and tuition discounts. We've in the past also partnered with our RESAs, and we've partnered with Georgia Professional Standard Commission to provide sessions on pathways and licensing as well. So we make sure that the tutors have all the support that they need to be able to leverage the education award that they receive and to be able to walk straight into a career in education. What this does is it creates a ripple effect for us. The students are achieving greater academic successes. Our districts are gaining much needed classroom support without the added financial strain that it could be, and tutors are empowered to pursue careers in education, creating a pipeline of dedicated, well-prepared educators for Georgia's workforce. Here is Jasmine McKenzie. She works in district office for Fulton County School District. And what she has to say about our program is that not only do our tutors provide critical support, but they also fill a critical pipeline that is needed. We find year over year that our tutors leave from tutoring after they've had their service with us. They enter into higher education to seek a career in education, and then in some cases they're able to transition straight into the school districts and to work within the schools and within the districts that they're already serving because they're acclimated to that community already. So in closing, I want to share that Reading Corps and Math Corps provide essential support where it's needed most. Our partnership with Godot fuels Georgia's education pipeline, and it increases the likelihood of tutor retention, turning into teacher retention as they commit to careers in education inspired by the impact of their service. This has been made possible through our partnership with Georgia Department of Education, because together we are investing in the future of Georgia's students, Georgia's schools, and Georgia's workforce. Thank you.
So tell us an acronym of CSI.
These are the schools that the Georgia Department of Education, they work directly with us to identify schools that are on their list that need additional assistance and support. And so these are some of those schools that have been identified. So every year in the partnership with Georgia Department of Education, they send us the list of the schools, and we reach out to those schools to let them know that the opportunity to receive tutors free of charge is there for them and available. We actually recruit the tutors. They have the opportunity to assist us in recruiting. They have the opportunity to even screen the individuals that are going to be in their schools as well.
So is this the bottom 5%? It is bottom. It is?
Comprehensive support, so those are the lowest 5%.
Lowest 5%. Okay, that's what I was trying to get. So, okay, good. Thank you. That's what I was hoping that you would say. Yeah. So do we have Evans County? Are y'all working with Evans County?
No, we are not working with Evans County currently right now. So the way the process goes is we send it out to every district, every superintendent, and allow them the opportunity to fill out an application saying, yes, we want tutors. This is how many we need. This is the impact that you can have in our district. And then they reach back out to us and we start the process. And so these are the districts, some of the districts, because all of them, of course, are not listed here.
So are these, for lack of a better word, are these live tutors that go into the schools? They're not virtual tutors?
Absolutely. They are live tutors. They show up to the schools every day at the start of the school day, and they are there throughout the day pulling students throughout the school day to provide tutoring for them in person. And they're also partnering with the teachers of these students as well as the instructional coaches to ensure that the interventions that they are receiving are aligned with where the students are and what they need.
So can you provide us a map of Georgia with the counties that y'all do serve? There's a few. But that's just a couple of them, though, isn't it?
No, these are the counties here that we're serving in, the counties. These are the counties, not the individual districts. So these are all the counties that we're in.
Yeah, that's right.
So you want a list of the districts.
So we have a lot of counties that have not reached out to y'all, is what I'm trying to say.
We have a lot of counties that have not reached out and that have not taken advantage of the opportunity.
So what you tell me, the ones that are red and yellow are the ones that y'all do serve?
Yes.
So
And it has been sent out to all the districts across the state of Georgia.
So again, it's kind of like I was asking, I think, Richard a while ago, why aren't these other counties reaching out to y'all? If y'all, if y'all were, not even, I know y'all serving the 5% schools, why aren't they reaching out to y'all and say, hey, we need help?
That is a great question why they aren't responding to say that they need help.
No, hey,
because they are getting the
hold on just a
communication from us.
I'm asking a question. Well, that's what's so disturbing about a lot of this, is that a lot of these 5% schools, why aren't they reaching out for service at all? Former principal. Oh, what, number 10?
Number 10. When you all reach out, do they know like the level of success that you all are having? Like, do they know like, hey, we have 76% are exceeding target growth, and do they get like information like that?
So when we send information out to them, it doesn't just come from us, it comes from Godot as well. So they also partner with us in sending out the information. It goes directly to district offices. And some district offices will say, we'll let the schools decide if they want it. Fulton County, Daugherty County for sure, and DeKalb County are in Muskogee County and Clay County. Truitland as well. Those are counties that they told the schools that yes, this is a program that you're going to do. Some of the other counties, they say, you know, we're going to let the schools decide whether or not they want the program or not within the schools. And so to answer your question, yes, we do send out information. We also have open sessions for them to, they can schedule whatever time works best for them, and we have our staff available to give them a full walkthrough of our programs and what that looks like as well.
So do y'all charge them anything?
Our partnership with Georgia Department of Education allows the schools to be able to have the tutors that are upperly of a cost of $35,000 free of charge. Typically, in other states that we're serving, it costs them at minimum about $10,000 to $12,000 per tutor, with the federal funding that we receive from AmeriCorps offsetting the additional costs. But because of the partnership that we have with Godot, they've put funding behind the program to ensure that our districts across Georgia do not have to pay for the services.
I think before we take a question, Matt wants to say something real fast, and then we will take
Just to add one
Senator
quick
Parent.
thing about why, maybe more, and this is somewhat speculation, but we use state ESSER funds, COVID relief funds, to do the contract. Many of our, or all of our districts, as you know, also got formula funds through COVID relief and ESSER funds. And many of our districts paid for high dosage tutoring directly. So they may not be utilizing it because they already did a contract directly, you know, whether that was with AmeriCorps, some other company. So just wanted to say,
No,
we
okay,
want them to utilize it, of course.
Right.
But some of why you might not see it all over is because they may have used their funding. Now, keep in mind that funding's gone. So, we did, so as part of our, we did a late liquidation request that U.S. Department of Ed allowed for, to get us through March of '26. There are a couple of contracts that we put in for, this is one of those. So that one will continue, so where the local LEA money is now gone, we might see that pick up a lot, because they don't have those funds anymore where we will, so.
Senator Parent.
Great. Actually, Matt, can I ask a quick follow? Sorry. I do have a question for you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when the money that you're putting in to continue this program through Georgia DOE, does that end in a year, or is it? Do you think we do, or do we not know, or you're still figuring out what you might try to?
It continues through March of 2026. Now, our contract is what we're actually bound to, though. The time frame on the contract, which I think
Our
is
current contract ends this summer.
June 30th. So technically, it ends June 30, even though the late liquidation extension allows for March of
I see.
26. There's some talk about the possibility that the U.S. Department of Ed might allow that flexibility to extend contracts, but they consider that new obligation of funds, which is technically not allowed. So it's a possibility that it could go beyond June 30th, but what we know for sure is that this is available free of charge to our districts through June 30th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask
Oh, yeah, please.
our presenter, Ms. I wrote your name down now.
Coleman,
There it is.
Shawana.
Coleman, yes. Ms. Coleman, thank you for this info. Real quick, so
Yes.
you may have said it. What's the difference between the orange and the yellow shading? Is there a difference?
It's not really a difference. When we like to add a little color and
I
pizzazz
like
to
it.
the map.
I
Just-
like it. Great. Okay, and would there be? Is the 2024? 2025 the first year you all have been?
Absolutely not.
So I didn't think so.
Yes.
So maybe other counties might have done it other years, and we just are looking at the most recent map.
So these are Clay, Calhoun, Darty. We started in Darty, Calhoun, Clay County, and then we had Trutland. So what you're seeing here is actually all of the counties that we have impacted from inception to now as well.
And
So
Inception was
in Georgia, 2018.
okay. So that is comprehensive to the
Yes.
whole
It is.
tenure of the. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
And so when we're looking at Fulton and DeKalb County, we are pretty much throughout the entire county for Fulton and DeKalb County. I would note that Fulton County, when they started with us, it was prior to us getting funding from Georgia Department of Education, and so they put us in their school budget, and they just did not remove us from the budget anyway because they did not want to lose the funding, which also worked out perfectly for them as well, because when we got the funding from Georgia Department of Education, they were able to do the expansion that they would like to do, and that helped us to be able to expand Reading Corps across all of the state of Georgia. We started right there in Dougherty County. We're still there, completely saturated the entire district with K through 8 math corps, and they're hoping to add Reading Corps on. It's just been more so about the funding pieces and what that looks like and the timing of them signing up for the programs as well. I had a conversation with DeKalb County recently, and we know that they had some funding and budget cuts for them, and they were talking to us about what does this look like to be able to keep the programs, and what will the funding look like from the Department of Education.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Jody Barrow. Now, many of y'all don't know, but
Come on up, Jody.
yeah, that's right.
Hey, folks,
Yeah.
how are you?
Many of y'all don't know, but Jody's originally from Claxton, Georgia,
I am. I hope they're,
fruitcake capital of the world.
some of the stuff that you've been sharing here, pass these out to the ladies, and we're gonna give you an eye test and a presentation.
Thank you.
I'll fill the eye test. I'm delighted to be here with you, and I
We appreciate you.
Senator Hickman and the invitation, to come and speak to the upper chamber.
And and you're the new kid on the block, right?
Sir?
Aren't you the new kid on the block with this? Aren't you just recently?
Yes, sir, I started about a month ago.
Yeah.
And, in fact, I need to go ahead and do something here real quick. Jody is the thorn, and he brought 4 roses with him, and I want to introduce them if I can. Real quick. We've got Wendy Fortenberry. She's head of our business operations. Kelly Young, head of our certification department. Anne Marie Fenton, she does rules and teacher assessment, and then Penny McCrory, she does education preparation programs. So
Thank
these
y'all.
ladies are the real brain trust, and I had to mention the fact that they came on their own. I didn't twist their arm, but they volunteered
Thank
to
y'all.
come, and
Thank
I
y'all.
appreciate that. Very quickly, for those of you that I don't really know, or you don't really know me, my friend Buster ratted me out and said I'd been here 40 years. I started when I was 12,
Yeah.
and situation where I am very passionate. I was a teacher, assistant principal, elementary principal, high school principal, superintendent of a low-wealth rural district, and I finished up as a superintendent in one of the 20th largest districts in the state, very affluent in Fayette County. So I've been around for a minute, and this is a job that I truly love. Before taking this role, I actually served some as an association with the superintendents. My primary role there was teaching and coaching new superintendents, hopefully how to be successful. Y'all know that's a big need for us in our state. And I know I have some colleagues back in the back that used to work with. But I want you to know I have tremendous respect for this profession. I have tremendous respect for you, because as serving on the education committee, education and youth committee, I consider you educators too. So I really appreciate the fact that you're here. For those of you that don't know a lot about the PSC, we really have 3 divisions. We have certification, we have educator prep programs, and we also have ethics. And we're very good at that. I will say that I know I'm the last thing between you and going home and having dinner, so I'll go very fast. I can use the, I think I can do this. We'll try to put this through. And the thing about the Professional Standards Commission is that we don't operate in isolation. We really are a partnering organization. We partner with DOE, with GOSA, with the legislature, with our RESA partners are here in the back, and local school districts. We're here to help and support. In our few minutes together, I want to be able to share some data with you. I know some of this has already been shared,
so I'll try to skip through as much as we possibly can. It's really important to talk about the pipeline. It's one of the biggest challenges we have. I think everywhere I go, I hear something about teacher recruitment and retention. It's being discussed all over in school districts, certainly here at the Capitol. It's one of our challenges, and we have to ensure that we have fully staffed schools with well-prepared teachers, qualified, ethical, effective teachers and leaders and service personnel, and not just to get them in the classroom or in the building, but to keep them there over time. That's what we hope to do. Look at the screen here, and you know, in God we trust, but everybody else we like to see data. And so we've got a lot of that with you here. You can see its trends over time, information. This is lagging, but it's the most recent data that we have. Actually, this information came from a survey, and I'll speak more about it, but it came as of December 2nd, 2024. So it's hot off the press for us. And you can look at the need there. You can, these numbers represent teachers who are hired the very first time in a Georgia school. And we look at, it's almost like BC and AD, before the pandemic and after the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we were hiring about 8,800 teachers a year. After the pandemic, you see, or when the pandemic started, we had a significant drop, and then in 2023, you see a massive increase, over 11,000 teachers. And part of that, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some people left, we had a dip, we had a rise. In fact, it was a historical increase for us in Georgia as far as the number of teachers. Some of that was because of we had the additional funding through the ARA money. We had significant learning loss, and that's how a lot of districts spent their ARA funds in trying to catch kids up. We feel like we want to share with you again the vacancy data, and this actually comes from the Georgia School Staffing Survey. We don't do this in isolation. We have to have partners help us, and the partners that I'm talking about are local school districts. That's where we actually get this data. We talk to them and say, okay, how many districts do you have? And I would like to, if you have a chance, compliment your local districts. For the third year in a row, we've had 100% of all the school districts in Georgia actually share the data. So we feel like it's pretty accurate. You know, we've had a 19% decrease over this last year from 2023 to 2024. That's a one-time drop. I don't, you know, if we saw that, and we could brag about that if it continued over time, but there's still a lot of openings and vacancies. And you can see, as a number of you've talked about, Senator Hickman mentioned it already, we had at that December 2nd date, we had 5,300 vacancies that had not been filled in Georgia. And that's just not good enough, in my opinion. In fact, if I could get one of those no vacancy signs out on the front of every school in Georgia, that would be marvelous. You can see some difference in numbers there over time, but I want you to be able to understand we still have a real significant issue. I'll keep going real fast here. I will point out where the needs are. I know Buster mentioned some of this to you. We do have reported fields of vacancies. The highest really is the elementary, and that only makes sense when you think about the large number of teachers in the state. The vast majority of teachers are in elementary school, so naturally that's a high needs area. Certainly special ed, the issue he mentioned with mathematics, middle grade, language arts, you see that there. If you just looked at the needs as far as elementary and special ed, that's almost 2,000 teacher needs right there between those two categories. So we're tracking this religiously. I'm going to continue to move on, and this is something that you may not have heard, and I want to say this carefully, because when we look at some of our positions, roughly 6,700, these are people who are not quote unquote fully certified out of a Georgia education program or an education, a formal education program. Now, that's not to say that they're not good teachers, okay? But we have to depend upon the local districts. We have to look at this very carefully. So if you look at, I don't know what happened here. Let's don't go away. Here we go. Catch up. I'm sorry. I'll catch up here with just a second. If you look at 5,300 and 6,700, that's 12,000 people that may not have all of the skills. Now, I've hired a lot of teachers with waivers that are wonderful, wonderful teachers. So I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I want you to see the good, the bad, the ugly, to get the whole picture here. We have lots of opportunities for teacher growth and retention. That's roughly 5.4% of Georgia's nearly 124,000 teachers. And we really want to be able to try to continue to improve that with regard to our hires, our vacancy data, and a number of waivers that we have. I know you've heard probably reports from Page, our colleagues at Page. You've heard some of the reports from the DOE where teachers are coming and they leave before 5 years are up. And that's a factor that I'm not going to try to report on that data. I do know it's a reality, and it somewhat impacts us as we're going through. Let me see if I can get us back here to where I want it to be. Okay. So if we talk about retention and recruitment, we have to look at attrition. And we have to look at, you can see that we're over 10% in 2023. It did drop down to 9.3, but you can see year after year there's a little increase and a little decrease. I think that the thing about teacher retention, and I want to flip on over to that. There we go. I think this is something that's important for us to note. Teachers who are prepared in Georgia, people that go through our educator preparation programs in the university system of Georgia, they tend to stay with us longer. And I know one of the things that I want to continue to talk about with our colleagues, with our college deans, I know with Chancellor Perdue, we want to talk about the importance of getting our folks in Georgia's programs, because when they go through our programs, they understand our people, they understand our climate, our culture, and folks stay a little longer with us. That's not to put down any of the other institutions that do teacher certification, but 75% is a strong number. We want to continue to encourage that. You look at program completions, I won't dwell on that tremendous amount of time here. You see the traditional providers, you see the non-traditional providers. I can say this from being in the profession a long time. I think the PSC probably is more flexible, more nimble today than they ever have been before with regard to trying to help people get to a good status as far as their certification is concerned. And we hope to be able to continue to expand that. I know that's one of the things in conversation I had with Chancellor Perdue is that we want to do more innovative practice. We would prefer that our teachers didn't go outside of the state to get certified. We'd prefer that they stay here in Georgia with us, and you see when that happens, then we tend to retain them longer. So that's a good thing. We want to continue to encourage that. Again, program completers, you see the data there. I'm not going to regurgitate all of this. If you have questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those. But I do feel good that program enrollment in teaching is staying fairly constant. We're about 8,000 individuals, but we still have a lot of vacancies, and that's the point that we want to highlight. I know some of my colleagues talk about, what about leadership? Where are we getting our next generation of assistant principals and district office workers? You can see our leadership picture is pretty solid. It's pretty steady. One of the things that's a challenge, though, as agencies are trying to, or institutions, or our districts are trying to hire teachers or teacher leaders and educational leaders, it's not just the paper certification that's important to them, it's the right fit. People who are passionate about the work, people who want to really impact the community where they are. So our service employees, that's all of our librarians, our counselors, our instructional technology people. It's not a flat line. It bounces up and down a little bit, but you kind of see kind of where we are. Last but not least, and I was talking about out-of-state enrollments, we do recruit from out of state. And I appreciate teachers that move from other places and come here. Senator Kemp was in Ohio, and we got him down here to God's country here. So that's a good thing. But you can see that the out-of-state percentages are increasing just a little bit. And there are reasons for that, and those are the things that we hope to be able to continue to look at and innovate here in Georgia. I think this continuum says a lot. Different spots all along the way: recruitment, prep, certification, induction, retention, ultimately renewal. We want to keep people in and keep them in that cycle so they can get to that retirement period. We don't work in isolation again. We have representatives from all walks of life in our policies, in our guidance, in our initiatives for educators, program providers, school districts, RESA, state agencies, and we want to continue to do that. I know Senator Hickman asked for just a little bit of information about how some of the things, or what are some of the things that we're doing to help support the pipeline. Military veterans and spouses, I know there are some pieces of legislation that are helping to work to make things easier for military veterans and their spouses as far as recruitment. I know Governor Kemp has a pipeline, teacher pipeline legislation to help school districts. I think that's great. I will share this with you, and this is a little fun factoid. We have staff members that go out and recruit teachers at military bases. Of the 7 military bases in Georgia, we actively recruit in 5 of them and have some measure of success there. So I want to compliment our folks in doing that. Another thing that we're looking at is working closely with our HBCUs. I think Senator Halpern, you've been invited to a piece of work that we're doing. In fact, I've invited, I think we've had 7 or 8 legislators all across, and particularly those on the Education Committee and Appropriations Committee, because we want them to come and see what we're doing and to be able to help provide. We need more teachers of color. We need more males. Those are just areas that we don't have a lot of representation there. So we want to go out and go to where we need to pick up those individuals. We're actively working on this and feel good about where we are, but we know we've got to turn it up a notch. This recruitment initiative is certainly something that I know I've seen in some legislation where the high career demand needs. I know I talked with Representative Matt Gamble. I know he's dropped a piece of legislation there. I said, Matt, you got to put teachers or educators in there. That's a high needs area, and it was in the legislation. So take a peek at that. Innovative testing models. I don't know if Anne Marie, she had to leave, but we are in the process of updating the GACE test. We're changing educator assessments, and we feel like if we can get a good assessment, we'll get a good measure of what kind of teachers they're going to be. Certainly, we're looking at our preparation program effectiveness measures. That's for our post-secondary institutions that are teacher certifiers and that are doing education programs. And I can tell you, I've been amazed at the quality of work that they do, working on a rotational basis, actually going out and working with and I know sometimes people think, well, gosh, the PSC, you're, an enforcer. And that's not what really we are. We set standards. We provide guide rails, hopefully to be able to keep people on the straight and narrow path. But we don't want to be known as, bullies. We're here to help people, in fact, remove barriers. Tiered certification, that's another big event that we use and work to try to help people. One of the things that we work really hard on is, particularly with our younger educators, is looking at ethics and their code of ethics that they need to be familiar with. I can tell you, I know everybody's heard about what the amazing capacity of artificial intelligence. We're starting to look at what type of educator ethics we need to talk about with regard to artificial intelligence. There's a lot of work that's happening. Clearly, we're promoting partnerships and much, much more. So there are a lot of things that we're working on. Bottom line is all of our work is aimed at supporting the educator pipeline and strengthening the recruitment and retention for Georgia teachers. I have other things that we can share. Just real quick, I'm going to zip through these. Senator Hickman, take a look up here on this very top one. We're making sure that literacy training is taking place. I want you to see that. For those of you that are interested in safety, we've got a new endorsement, and we're working with GMA to make sure if teachers want to be able to get in that and get that endorsement, we have a place and we have a program for them to go through. We're talking about the science of reading. We are stressing that incredibly hard. We're looking at what the educator providers are putting in place. We're going to share some data with you in a probably sometime, possibly even later this month, to let you know exactly what is going on and who's doing what, when, where, and how. I think that's important for you to have that kind of feedback. Leadership roles, obviously important. And, we talk about training teachers, but we need to train our leaders, too, to make sure they understand what they need to be looking for. And last but not least, the code of ethics. We don't want young people to make a silly mistake just because they got caught up in the moment or weren't thinking, and we can help them by giving them quality training. There are a lot of coming enhancements. Our technology is over 25 years old that we use. It's legacy stuff. It desperately needs to be. We're upgrading that. I'm really proud about that. We've got a lot of information on our website if you want to take a look at that. We'd certainly be happy for you to take a look. Folks, I've gone through what I could take a lot of time and dove real deep into, but I know the hour is late. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. But know this, our folks are genuinely passionate about customer service. And if you talk to school districts and they say, and I'm not saying give them what they want with a blank check or a green pass, a get out of jail card, but if you talk with folks about the quality of service they receive from the Professional Standards Commission and it's not positive, I want you to let us know, because we're serious about that. I can tell you that my experience in just a month over time, we're getting calls a lot saying thank you for your help. Thank you for understanding. We appreciate what you're doing. And that's the kind of service agency we want to be.
Questions? I read an article several months ago, and that question. It said, who's the most important person in the school? And I've been retired teacher, married, blah, blah. And it said the principal. And then the more I thought about it, going to the principal, going to schools, they set the climate for the school.
They do set the tone.
So it really helped me understand that. Senator Parent.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for, there was some really good news in your presentation, so thanks for your work.
Great
This
stuff.
is probably not for right now, but I just wanted to note, Mr. Chairman, that I was very interested when you presented your resume, having worked in such a diversity of our school systems. I sure would be interested in hearing about sort of like major takeaways and top line lessons from being in like a rural, having worked in a rural district that doesn't have much of a tax base, as well as Forsyth, and just, I'd just be fascinated, because I think that could be interesting for all of us to hear, you know, about what the disparate needs are and you know,
Well, I'd
things of
like,
that
Thank
nature.
you.
I'd like to think that's the reason why I'm in this chair. I think the governor looked at some of the things that we brought to the table, and it's really not about me. But those experiences matter, they count, and I can share with you, and my folks will tell you, one of the first things that we did is we did an environmental scan of our entire staff. Talk about what we're doing well, let's talk about what we need to grow in. We're getting that feedback, again, God we trust, but data, I want to see it from everybody else, and that's what we're pushing really hard on. And I've got a preliminary snapshot of that, and if you guys are interested in taking a look at that, I'll be happy to share it. It's based on our agency, though. I would want you to know that. But there are strategies and techniques to help us get better, and we're sharpening the saw.
Senator
Yep.
Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for this presentation, and I can attest as somebody that has engaged with the PSC that customer service is really well.
Thank you.
Actually, I need to.
Tell these ladies back here.
Yes,
that
so
they're-
thank you.
They're the ones that do
Yes.
the hard lifting.
I need to re-engage. I think my certification expires this year, so if this doesn't work out, I can at least go back to that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I know some recruitment opportunities.
There
for
we
you.
go. Yeah. So we'll give this
Okay.
out, try for a couple of years, and we'll see.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I'm curious if you all know, just off the top of your head, how many states does Georgia have reciprocity with?
Quite a few, actually, and I didn't say this, she'll probably throw something and hit me in the back of the head, but with our certification process and how we help with reciprocity, I'm proud of this, and it was before me, that these folks have done this work already, but we have the fastest and most efficient turnaround time on teacher certification in the nation.
Oh, wow.
And I, you know, that's not just Jody saying that, that's really something we can crow about here in Georgia. Now, it does take time, and sometimes people don't always like the answer that we give them, but it's something that I think we could celebrate. I want to commend all of our folks, and it doesn't matter what division or the directors really are great leaders, and we're proud to have them here with us. I'm glad they let me come to work every day.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thank y'all, and thank you, Jody, and thank y'all for your patience and all. And like Jody said earlier, we started off with each other about 7:30 this morning.
Yes, sir.
And so it's been almost 12 hours. Yeah, we did. So thank y'all. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for willing to wait around. Great presentations. Really, really well. This is the third one we've done, and Matt, they have been super. We really appreciate the enthusiasm. We all in this thing together, people. It's a community effort. It's not a DOE. It's not a Jefferson. It's all of us, and we're gonna make it better. As Scott Johnson said so many times, this is Georgia's most solvable problem. Thank you. And we're adjourned.